like to welcome you all to this meeting of the Sustainability Advisory Board on Monday, October 7th. I'm guessing we have no public comment as we have no public tonight. So I would ask for a recommendation for the approval of the minutes from our August 5th meeting, which was the last meeting we had because we got preempted by Labor Day in September.
Move approval. Second.
Any discussion on the minutes from the last meeting? Okay, all in favor of accepting as written?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Then, tonight, we have a presentation. Thank you so much for coming, Jane. We have somebody from Renew Wisconsin. Jane McCurry is going to be talking about electric vehicles.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. So if you don't know, Renew Wisconsin, we are a 501c3 nonprofit in Madison, and we do work statewide to promote all forms of renewable energy and also electric vehicles. These are photos of me. My name is Jane McCurry. I'm the Electric Vehicles Program Manager. I started with Renew about a year and a half ago to kick off our transportation work and really round out our clean energy work, being really holistic. So now we look at the electricity sector and also the transportation sector, trying to clean up both of them. That red Ford Escape I bought in college when I needed a car that could get me home to Detroit from Madison, where I was going to school. I had very similar values then as I do now, and like any good Detroiter, I went down to the used car lot and I bought myself a used Ford Escape. And I think it's a testament to how far the electric vehicle market has come. About 2 months ago, I bought my first electric car. Yes. I just got married. My husband and I bought each other a Tesla Model 3 as a wedding gift. We share the one vehicle, and it really fits our needs. We can still drive across country to visit our families in it. It's a really good car for his work. We've put over 4,500 miles on the vehicle in the past month, so we drive it a ton, and it really fits in our lifestyle. And we only pay about $70 more a month to have a 2018 all-electric Tesla, as opposed to a 2010 Ford Escape, which uses gasoline. So for me, that's worth it. Makes a lot of sense for my lifestyle, and I think it shows how far the electric vehicle market has come in just the past 4 or 5 years, that we can afford an electric car that really fits our life. So today I want to talk about why you should care about electric vehicles, give a little bit of a market update, and talk about how electric vehicles really coincide with renewable energy, and then talk about what cities can do to make a difference with a few local government example actions. Feel free to interrupt me at any time with questions, too. So 25% of Wisconsin's energy is used for transportation. So it's a really large chunk of the energy that we use here in the state. So as we're thinking about clean energy, it's really important to also consider transportation. And it's not just an environmental issue, it's a security and energy independence issue. It's a financial issue. $8.4 billion a year gets sent out of state to power our transportation system with liquid fossil fuels and oil and gasoline. So it's billions of dollars every single year that if our vehicles were powered by something else, we could produce that energy here in Wisconsin and keep more of our dollars here in our community. The good news is that renewable energy costs are coming down dramatically. In the past decade, the cost of solar has come down over 80%. And wind is down over 60%. So large-scale renewable energy is actually the cheapest form of electricity that you can make right now, even cheaper than natural gas and coal plants, which is really pretty cool for us in the industry to see the financials really make sense. It would be hard-pressed to build another fossil fuel electricity generator.
Can you read the tiny print on the boxes?
Installed capacity increased 10,000 in the last 5 years. So
I'm seeing like the purple looks like 66%.
66% drop in wind energy prices since 2009.
Okay.
The purple line. The red line is 85% drop in solar energy prices since 2009. And the yellow says installed capacity increased 10 times in the last 5
Okay.
years.
Okay, and then
Yep.
the axes are labeled gigawatts installed for wind and levelized cost of energy dollar per megawatt hour.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then solar gigawatt installed and weighted levelized cost of energy.
Yeah, dollars. Okay.
Yeah, so it's showing installations are going up dramatically and cost is going down dramatically.
Okay, and there's 2 boxes, there's 2 bars, and there's a line.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so what are the 2 different bars for?
So the bars are installations.
But why are there 2 of them? Why is there like a light blue and a darker blue bar?
That's a great question. I don't know. But I
Okay.
can get back to you.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to understand the graph.
yeah.
I'm just trying to understand the graph.
I don't know the two.
Okay, so
My
the
guess is
line
maybe
represents the cost. The bars are related to
Correct.
the installations.
installations.
Okay,
Yes.
says in the tiny print underneath.
It says annual and cumulative capacity, so I'm guessing the light blue is annual.
Okay, okay,
Cumulative is the dark blue.
okay, thank you. Okay, okay, that makes sense, looking at the bars. I have trouble reading that print from here, but yeah,
Thanks.
Okay.
Sorry. This is a little bit,
yeah,
it's a harder slide. The graphs get small.
yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sitting not very close to it too.
So, like we saw on the last slide, the installations of renewable energy are increasing dramatically. All of these dots represent large-scale renewable energy or storage installations in the queue to be installed in Wisconsin. So none of these have been built yet, but it shows the demand that adds up to a ton of electricity and far more than we have renewable energy than we have on the grid right now. So this is really good news, positive outlook map for the future of renewable energy in Wisconsin.
What is MISO?
It's the mid-continent. It's I like to think of it as the stock exchange for electricity. So all the way from Wisconsin over to like North Dakota and down even to Louisiana, it's all on the same kind of stock exchange for electricity. And so they kind of make sure that there's a board that makes sure that there's enough electricity on the grid, it's being traded at fair prices, it's moved where it needs to go. So to add this much capacity to the grid, it has to go through this MISO kind of electricity board.
Now, is this planned stuff?
This
or-
is what's planned.
Okay, so this
Yes.
doesn't include the stuff that's already
Correct.
installed?
Yep.
Because I know there's wind turbines on the east shore of Lake Winnebago.
Yep, this is planned.
Okay, so more solar is planned, a lot
Lots of
more solar
solar,
is planned
yep.
than the wind.
Yep. So when I think of electric vehicle, to me that means any car with a plug. So it's a car that can use electricity off of our electric grid. And that's so that electricity can be powered by renewable energy. Sometimes people will refer to hybrid vehicles as electric vehicles because they do have a battery and they're electrified. But you can only put gasoline into them, and I want your cars to be powered by renewable energy. So for me, an electric car is a car that plugs into our electric grid. There are 26 electric cars available new in Wisconsin today. 6 BMWs, most of those are plug-in hybrids. 3 Teslas, 3 Volvos, 2 Chevys, 2 Porsches, and then 1 from a bunch of other auto manufacturers. And there are a ton more on the way, which is pretty cool. I have a YouTube video that I want to show, which is kind of fun.
Attention customers, I want you to listen very carefully. On behalf of Big Oil, I want to thank you all for choosing muscle cars that use gasoline. Long live American muscles.
Recently, Arnold Schwarzenegger teamed up with Veloz to promote the benefits of electric cars. To show how they save time, money, and the environment, he went undercover as a used car salesman
Hi, how are you? Oh, China.
and tried to sell people gas cars instead.
Hello. efficient, like quiet. Like exactly what you're looking for. What do you think, huh? How about this, huh?
Yeah, I'm looking for some kind of electric hybrid mix.
That don't bullshit me.
Okay.
I'm just tired of spending money.
Pump? Oh, this is great. You go to the gas station, you pump. Let me tell you something. The pump sometimes is more satisfying than sex.
I can do something that can get me into the carpooling, actually.
Oh, you mean a sticker? This is your lucky day. Anyone that buys a car today gets a free bumper sticker. I'll be back. The carpool lanes are for sissies. I support the oil company monopoly. You can choose any of those. In a battery power car for this? You're right. It will impress your neighbors. This is testosterone. Yes.
My friend got an electric car and he got a tax credit.
You want a tax credit, or do you want a street credit? You know that the planet is too crowded right now, right? Gasoline cars create pollution, and it curbs population, brings it down. That is the idea.
That's not the way to go about it. So quiet in here. I love it.
But that's the problem, you see? Because it's so quiet that you hear literally everything that your family says. Think about that for a second.
You don't like the car, huh?
I do like the car.
I love the smell of exhaust. Smell this.
That's what we didn't want.
Ah.
You know, actually, can we just get a supervisor in here?
Could I be still please supervisor?
Can we get a supervisor?
To the manager?
All right, let me get the manager, all right?
Okay.
All right.
It's
I'm
okay.
getting hungry and grouchy.
Yeah, me too.
Hello, I'm Harry, the sales manager. You asked for me?
It's the same guy.
How can I help you? Electric cars save money, time, and environment without sacrificing any of the fun and excitement of driving. And with over 40 available makes and models, you've never had more reasons to go electric. Go to electricforall.org and join us. Do it now. Come with me if you want a lift. If it burns gas, we got it.
I like that video. So it talks about quite a few of the reasons that people would want to drive electric. There's tons of reasons that you might want to drive an electric car. Low cost, low emissions, they're great commuter cars. They can also be great road trip cars or to use in a rideshare gig economy job. They're fast and they're quiet and you can drive using renewable energy, among other reasons that you could want to drive an electric car. There are tons of new models coming soon. Every major auto manufacturer has committed to spend billions of dollars transitioning their fleet and their vehicle offerings to electric. So if you can see Ford, Daimler, GM, BMW, Hyundai, Volkswagen, they're all up there committing to make dozens and dozens of new electric cars. So hopefully soon there's an electric car in every shape and size that you could want, including pickup trucks. On the top left there is a Ford F-150 all-electric version. It's a prototype from in a screenshot from a video that they made where that F-150 all-electric pulled over 1 million tons behind it. They put gasoline F-150s in a train behind it and it pulled over 1 million pounds, which is pretty incredible and speaks to the power and the torque in these vehicles. There's a few new manufacturers up there. Rivian is a Michigan-based electric vehicle startup. They're coming out with an SUV and a pickup truck. Workhorse is also a new company creating electric pickup trucks. Tesla is up there. And then on the bottom right corner is a GM pickup truck that they have committed to producing as well. Amazon recently ordered 100,000 electric box trucks. Box trucks in electric versions are kind of hard to come by right now. This order will change that. These vehicles will be used as Amazon Prime vehicles, so kind of the last mile to get your goods to you. So they'll do a ton to cut local air pollution from vehicles that have spend most of their life idling at someone's driveway to give them their packages. There's now no pollution coming from those vehicles. This is the largest ever order of electric vehicles in the world. So it really shows that the market's moving and companies are demanding these vehicles. And that's mostly because they're cost effective. If you look at the 5-year cost of owning a Tesla Model 3 versus a Toyota Camry, so the red bar there is the Tesla Model 3 cost, and then every other blue bar is a different version of a Toyota Camry. And the Tesla Model 3 beats every single one of those versions if you look at the 5-year cost of ownership. And that's due to the dramatically lower maintenance costs and fuel costs. So electric cars have way fewer moving parts, so there's not as much that goes wrong, so you don't have as much maintenance. For example, there's no oil to change in an electric car, so you never have to spend the time or pay to get your oil changed. Fueling an electric car costs about half as much as fueling a gasoline car. So the most recent number on Wisconsin is about $1.34 per electric gallon. So that's like, however far you can go in your vehicle on 1 gallon of gasoline. To go that far would cost about $1.30 in an electric car. There are a few ways to charge your electric vehicle. Every electric car comes with a level 1 charger in the trunk. So one side of that plugs into your car and the other side plugs into any regular wall outlet. So you can plug it in depending on the car. You could charge up overnight, or if you have a really big, fully electric vehicle, it could take like 2 days to charge your whole car. If you have a plug-in hybrid, so it has the gasoline and the battery, a lot of times using that level 1 charger is more than enough, and people can charge their car overnight and it's not a problem for them, and it doesn't make sense to invest in a level 2 charger. Other people, for example, in my lifestyle, I have to have a level 2 charger. So level 2 charger is a 240 volt outlet, so that's like what your electric clothes dryer is. That charges your car at about 20 miles per hour. So that's really good if you have one of those larger full battery electric vehicles that can charge your car overnight, no problem. And then the fastest level is called level 3, and that's 440 volts and up. And that's what you want to use if you're taking a road trip. That can charge your car in less than an hour, oftentimes much faster than that. But it's a ton of electricity pumping through. So those are very expensive to install, but they're really good, and they help drivers a ton on road trips.
So for Tesla, that would be the supercharger, but do other makes have something similar?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's called DC fast charging. So there's the Tesla supercharger, and then every other vehicle uses they're basically 2 different kinds of plugs. So all the DC fast chargers or level 3 chargers for non-Tesla vehicles have both of those plugs on them, so they can service any other vehicle.
There's kind of Tesla and everything else.
Yeah.
So how fast is the level 3 charge typically?
It varies a little bit. Typically, you can get a full battery in like 45 minutes or less. Yeah.
The fellow that we had at the meetup in Neenah, his MIEV charged 80% in 20 minutes on the level 3.
Wow.
It'll go from 0 to 80% in 20 minutes, but that's at the level 3.
Yeah. So it can be super fast. And a lot of the chargers actually are built over what the cars can take. So a lot of times these new DC fast chargers, they can charge a car at like 350 kilowatts. No car can accept that much energy at once yet. But as the car technology continues to improve, they will be able to. So the charge time is going to keep getting faster and faster.
Approximately how much are the level 2 and 3 chargers?
A level 2 charger, just to put in your garage, to buy the actual charger is about $500, and then probably about another $500 to have it installed. To put one in public is a little bit more because you get them on a pedestal, and you want to make sure that you redo the paint so that people know it's an EV charger, and you sometimes have to trench through your parking lot to get the wiring out there. So more in like the $3,000 to $10,000 range for a level 2 charger. And then the DC fast chargers can be up to like $100,000 because you have a lot of utility upgrades that you have to do for those.
Do most electrics nowadays, they come with the level 1 automatically, but do most come with level 2?
No.
So there's like no company out there like automatically includes it in a purchase?
Not that I know of.
but they'll sell you one.
Oh, everything's selling.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sure
I mean,
they'll
it's
sell me
like,
a level 3 if they really want to.
like an added feature to your car, you
Yeah.
know, it's like getting, I don't know what.
Yeah, I mean, every car can accept a level 2 charge, if that's what you mean, but it doesn't come with the thing that you put up on your wall to charge it at a level 2. Yeah.
Is there like cross compatibility between like charging stations? I know Tesla's kind of proprietary, but like all the other models,
Yeah,
they have
that's a
charging
great
stations.
question. So level 2s
If
work.
I take my Chevy Bolt to
Yeah.
a Nissan Leaf charger, I mean,
It'll work.
charging stations, okay.
Yes, for level 2. So every car has the same level 2 plug except Tesla's. But in my Tesla, I can use any level 2 and I just snap a little piece onto the end of it and then it
Oh,
goes
you have an
into my car.
adapter?
Yes. Every other car
Oh.
doesn't have to worry
And
about
what
that.
about a level 3? Are those,
For the level 3, there's those 3 different kinds. There's the Tesla supercharging. There's a kind called CHAdeMO, which the Japanese cars use, and then there's SAE combo, which all the European and American cars use. And so Tesla superchargers typically have their own station. It's just for Tesla. The other DC fast chargers have the SAE combo and the CHAdeMO coming off of them.
oh, both?
Yes.
Okay.
Only one can be used at a time, but typically they have both of those
Okay,
plugs. So that
okay,
any
so you
car
don't
can
have
use
to
it.
install 2 separate?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming it's gonna be restaurants along highways and stores that will install
Yeah.
these,
Yeah.
probably not a gas station.
Actually, there was just a gas station open, I believe it was in Maryland. It's all electric now.
Yeah, I saw that
But
too.
is there a
Yeah.
store attached to it? Do
Yes.
people just?
And there's a regular,
so-
there's a regular gas, it's just
Right.
regular gas station.
But I mean, so
You just
people
took
go
out all
in
the
and
gas stuff.
shop, people go in and shop while they're charging it up.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah, like
supercharged
a
station.
convenience store, yeah.
Right, yeah, so people have something to do while they're waiting. You still would wait 20 minutes.
Yeah, think of the chargers like Apple versus Android. Like Tesla's the Apple, and everyone else is like the Android version. Like, right, like your chargers on your phone and all your products, it's very similar, right? Like,
Yeah. So it's really not too complicated. Like you go to the gas station and you know what kind of gas you need to put in your
Right.
car. It's kind of the
Same
same
thing.
thing. You just
Yeah.
know what kind of plug you need.
Right.
And there are tons of apps that you can get on your phone and you can search by which type of plug you need. And it'll come up and route you right there and people check in and tell you that it's working and how fast it's charging your car. So it's really pretty easy.
I know we have Tesla chargers in town at
Festival
At the
Food
festival.
Festival.
I know, I think every Quick Trip has a level 1 charging spot in town also, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if the rest of the gas stations would put those in, but.
Be good info to get though.
Yeah, so like I said, the level 1's just your regular outlet. So pretty much any hotel that you go to, if you say, hey, I have an electric car, can I plug into your light post? Like, yeah, sure, that's fine. You know, no one really cares too
Yeah.
much if you use their outlets on the outside of their building. Those level 2s are super helpful though. And they cue residents that there are electric vehicle chargers in public and, oh yeah, people in my community really are using electric cars. All of these yellow pins are DC fast chargers. Many of them are Tesla superchargers. So if you drive any other vehicle, those would not be accessible to you. But this just shows that you can get most places in the Midwest if you wanted to take a road trip in an electric car. And 115 of those dots are in Wisconsin, which is pretty cool.
Mostly southern Wisconsin,
Yes.
bottom 2/3. There's some in Canada, but not the UP. Huh?
Not the UP. This is maybe a year-old map. I should probably update it. My number's updated, though.
I talked to a guy with a Tesla who said that he has taken it back and forth to DC like 4 times already.
Oh, yeah?
He had a 3 and he had just gotten it.
Okay.
And
Cool.
could not say enough. And I said, well, what were you driving before? And he said, well, I had a BMW, I had a Porsche. He said, this is my very favorite car ever. And it was just the 3, it wasn't even the S.
Yeah. It's a nice car. I love it. I can't imagine driving a gas car now. Yeah. So I get this question a lot. Well, if I'm switching from a gas car to an electric car, but we have a lot of coal in our electricity mix here in Wisconsin, am I just driving a coal-powered car? Kind of, but no. Driving electric is still better for the environment. It produces less greenhouse gases, less harmful emissions, and you're not polluting everywhere that you're driving, which is a huge benefit when we think about localized air pollution. Nationally, driving an electric car is about the equivalent of driving an 80 mile per gallon car. If you see up in Wisconsin, we have one of the darker blue spots where it's a little bit lower than 40 miles per gallon, but that's changing really quickly, and that's looking at some of the least efficient electric cars. So that's kind of your worst case scenario in an electric car.
So you're saying you produce less carbon dioxide by driving an electric car, even if your electricity is produced by coal-powered plant, than if you buy the gasoline?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And it's even better when you look at the more efficient electric vehicles like the Tesla Model 3 or the Hyundai Ioniq or the Prius Prime. Those get closer to 50, a little bit over 50 miles per gallon in Wisconsin.
If you're using if your electricity is from a coal-powered plant.
Yeah, that's based on our electricity mix.
Our electricity mix.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so
If
if
it's
you
all
can
coming
see
from solar, then.
Yeah, so like over in California, it's 147 miles per gallon because they have a lot more renewable energy on the grid.
Okay.
Yep, so it's taking into account what our electricity is made from.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Actually, it was called long tailpipe fallacy is what they call it. When they try to say that coal power plants are just as wasteful as a gasoline car as opposed to electric. That was like, I think it was mathematically disproven like 15,
A lot of times.
15, 20 years
So the
ago
coal-
almost with electric.
yeah,
It
The
was past that.
coal-powered plants must be more efficient compared to a gasoline combustion engine or
Well,
something.
electric cars are super efficient.
Yeah.
In an internal combustion engine, you have tons of parts that need to move all different ways to make your vehicle actually move forward. In an electric car, you hit the pedal and the motor goes. Like, there's just way less waste in the electric car system.
Oh, and you got the regenerative braking.
You have
in the-
regenerative braking,
in the
so
electric vehicles.
it's just a much more efficient system. And electric cars are the only vehicle that you can buy that will get less polluting over time. If you buy a gas car, the only thing you can put in it is gasoline. If you buy an electric car, your car gets cleaner as the grid gets cleaner. Solar power owners are 66% more likely to own an electric car. So people kind of get hooked on clean energy and get really excited about it. So if you have solar panels on your house, you're a really great candidate to buy an electric car and vice versa. So there are a ton of ways that local governments can take the lead on the switch to electric transportation. One way is to electrify your fleets. That photo is a City of Madison Chevy Bolt that I saw out in the wild in a parking structure. So I didn't track it down and ask them to take the picture. I just saw it out. Today I actually saw another Bolt. It was red for the fire department driving around town. So pretty cool. They're great vehicles for around town, super fun to drive. So passenger vehicles are one thing that city fleets can electrify. There are also electric forklifts, buses, parking enforcement vehicles, even police squad vehicles, and tons of more options to come. So it's something to keep an eye out for as you think about vehicle procurement for your city. There's actually a grant that was just announced a few days ago through the Office of Energy and Innovation, the statewide energy office, and they're offering $5,000 on the purchase of a passenger vehicle and $25,000 on the purchase of a medium or heavy duty vehicle. So it'd be a good time to have a pilot program
For
in
a
the
city. The grant's for.
The grant is
municipals?
for a bunch of different entities. So I think it would have to be kind of a creative partnership between a business or nonprofit in the city. But I think it's
But
probably.
it's aimed at municipalities
It's not aimed at municipalities, no. It's open to a host of entities.
But not individuals.
Not individuals, correct.
Have they made any progress with things like snowplows or garbage trucks?
There are tons of alternative fuel snowplows and garbage trucks. So I know like propane and biogas is really readily available. I don't know if there are a ton of examples of electric versions, but I know that they are coming soon. And a lot of times this is word on the street, is that it's gonna be kind of like the front cab and the bottom will be electric, and then you can snap on whatever kind of vehicle you need. So you can buy a vehicle and snap a fire truck onto the back of it, or buy a vehicle and get the parts you need to make it a garbage truck. So the kind of base vehicle will be the same, and then it'll be much easier for the city to coordinate charging those vehicles and use of those vehicles. Electrifying fleets is cost effective. The upfront cost is a little bit more, and you need to pilot how to charge these vehicles. But they perform better, they have less maintenance, they're lower emissions, and they will help you become a clean energy leader. So a lot of times you have kind of a capital budget versus operating budget issue when you look at electric vehicle purchases, but there are tons of creative financing mechanisms to get over that hurdle. That hurdle is more pronounced when you look at transit buses because they're such large vehicles. Transit buses are a really great thing to electrify because it's just a huge win-win for your community. People who are most impacted by pollution are often the least privileged members of our community. So electrifying our transit buses and lowering pollution that way is a really great way to equitably electrify your fleets. 3 keys to successfully implementing electric buses: getting the technology, the finances, and the institutional buy-in to make it happen. So on the technology side, you need to look at range, capabilities, how you're going to charge them, what kinds of routes you want to drive them on to make sure that you're picking a bus that really fits your needs as a community. Getting the financing, the upfront cost of a transit bus can be up to 2 times as much as a diesel bus. And that's because of the charging infrastructure and the batteries mostly. But the cost to operate is about half as much. So over time, an electric bus always beats out a diesel bus on cost, but that upfront cost can be a really hard hurdle to get over. There are plenty of grants that are available. There are creative partnerships and financing mechanisms where you can get the utility involved or other local stakeholders to make that.
How long have the electric buses been around? And where are they? Where are the cities that are adopting them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say electric buses have been on the road for maybe 15 years.
Oh, wow.
In Wisconsin, I know that Madison, Racine, Milwaukee, and La Crosse have electric buses on order. I don't know that any of them are on the road
I'm just
yet.
wondering the cold weather, how that affects their efficiency.
Yeah, that's a great question.
It
definitely does.
You're finding these in the south more, or you're finding them in the north too? Other cities in the north with experience?
Both. Yeah, so the city of Duluth up in Minnesota just got 9 electric buses, and they're all on the road. They definitely had a learning curve, learning which routes these buses could work on. On the coldest days, routes that were primarily uphill didn't work well for the electric buses.
Okay. So they made it through a winter with them?
They did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they learned through the process, and now they have routes picked out for those buses that work really well.
Oh, and they have a mixture of buses then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I believe Vancouver has electric buses too,
Sure they do, yes.
because they're very progressive.
I'm sure they do. Proterra is one of the major electric bus manufacturers, and they just announced that they have 100 transit customers right now, which is 10% of the transit authorities in the United States. So it's actually a pretty large market share. So these are going in all across the country.
Oshkosh is pretty flat.
Yeah, so it would work great.
Be getting up the over the bridge. You go up a
Yes.
hill a little bit, a little bit of upslope, but.
Duluth is pretty hilly.
Yeah.
I just went through there last month.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They got a different kind of terrain here.
yeah. They laugh at our little bridge hill.
So having institutional buy-in is also really important. It helps to get the mayor, the city council, the transit authority, you all, the sustainability board, and it also helps to have your local utility involved to help you with all of the infrastructure requirements to charge these vehicles. I already mentioned the city of Racine. They're getting 6 all-electric buses. They are going to try to replace their oldest and dirtiest buses to have the most public health benefit from electrifying. They're going to have mostly slow chargers with 1 fast charger at the end of a long route. I think their plan for these buses originally was to actually use them to shuttle out to the Foxconn location and back to Racine. So they're going to put that fast charger out at Foxconn so that the buses could get all the way back comfortably. And they're actually financing these with Volkswagen settlement money. So if you don't know about the Volkswagen settlement, it's a big diesel emissions scam. Basically, Volkswagen cars were lying and cheating their emissions tests, so they knew when they were being tested. And they were polluting a lot less in those tests than they were on the road. So the state of California and the federal government went into this huge settlement with Volkswagen. Out of that settlement, Wisconsin got $67.2 million. And $42 million of that was allocated to transit authorities to upgrade their bus fleets.
So did Oshkosh get any money?
No, I checked today. Appleton did.
Did you have to apply for it or what?
You had to apply for it, yes. I checked before I came, and Oshkosh was not on the list. But there is more funding available. So there's Volkswagen funding left, and that has been allocated toward public charging stations and city buses. So there is an opportunity to get some of that funding here in Oshkosh, either to charge your community's vehicles or to get electric
Create
buses.
public charging stations.
So from the
Create charging
VW
stations.
settlement, there's
Yep.
still some money left.
There is funding left, yes.
How soon do we have to apply for it?
The grants, the application period isn't open yet.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I have Steven's email, so I'll send it to him when it is.
Thanks.
Yeah. Another way for local governments to promote electrification is to install charging stations. The Dane County budget came out last week, and they're allocating $305,000 to install level 2 charging stations at county buildings and dog parks in the county. And those charging stations will be for county vehicles and also resident vehicles to help residents drive electric with confidence. City-owned parking lots, city buildings, even street lamps and power poles can be really great places to put level 2 charging stations. And again, that's just a really great signal to your community that people are driving electric and they have that security when they're out in public and need to recharge.
Are these usually free recharging or are they metered or something?
You can charge for it. A lot of times with level 2 chargers, it costs a lot more to get the upgraded charger that can accept a credit card. And it's really pretty cheap to put in just a level 2 charging station they call it dumb. So it's not network connected, it can't take a payment. So a lot of times people opt to do that because upgrading to the one where you can charge people is a lot more expensive up front, and so it would take a while to recoup that cost. But you certainly can get a charging station that people pay to use.
From the point of view of the car owner, it's cheaper to pay for the electricity than the gasoline.
Yeah, absolutely. Car owners
So it
don't
shouldn't-
really care. Yeah. There are also a few city ordinances that make it easier to drive electric in your community, requiring make-ready infrastructure in new parking lots. So that means that as new parking lots or buildings with parking lots are being built, you can require that they have the wiring to support electric vehicle charging. A lot of the cost of adding electric vehicle charging is tunneling under the parking lot to get the wiring out there and then having to repave. So that cuts down a huge portion of the upfront cost to get that charging infrastructure out in your community. Also designating those spots as EV-only parking spots makes it more enforceable. So, if an EV owner comes up to the only charging station in that parking lot and there's a gas car parked there, there's not much they can do about it unless there's a city ordinance that says these are only for EV vehicles while they're charging. And then also thinking about your multi-unit dwellers. If you don't have a garage, it's kind of hard to have a designated place to charge each night. So making sure that people who live in condos and apartment buildings have access to charging, that they're not barred from putting a charging station in their parking garage or parking lot that they park overnight. That is all I have prepared, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I also have a few info documents if anyone would like them. One's about how to install an electric vehicle charging station in your community. I have some EV basics flyers, and then purchasing a used electric car.
Did you purchase your car new or used?
Used. My car, it only had 400 miles on it, but I did purchase it used. I got a pretty good price break buying it used.
Send that one around
Yeah.
to me, please.
Yeah.
Did they just have it at a regular car dealership, or do they have a?
So since it's Tesla, I bought it through Tesla. I had looked at other used car retailers. There's a used electric car retailer in Chicago, and all they sell is used electric and hybrid vehicles. And so I just waited for a good deal and found this one through Tesla.
What's the average depreciation on a Tesla after like 3 years?
I
Not
don't
to
know.
put you on the spot.
Yeah, I don't know very much. They hold their value pretty well. Typically, well, so electric cars you can get a tax credit on right now. So typically you purchase the car and the sticker price drops right away because you've got a few $1,000 tax credit on it. But after that, they tend to hold their value.
Is Chevy Bolt the cheapest, or is the Nissan, was it Leaf?
The Nissan
Cheapest?
Leaf and the Chevy Bolt cost about the same up
What
front.
do they cost about? Low 30s?
Their
mid 30s?
MSRP is like 35, 36. I
You
think.
can get one for 30.
Is there any forecast of the prices coming down? Because I mean, you throw these $3,000 to $10,000 prices
Yeah,
for
that's a-
chargers. I mean, to a normal person.
Well, you'd get a level 2 charger for home.
Yeah, but
you
that's
get
still
which-
$3,000 to $10,000 on
No.
top.
Oh, no, that would be in public.
No,
To
no,
put one in your
it's
house would be like
$1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We bought a Chevy Bolt, and it was $600 for the charger, and we paid the electrician $400 or something, so it took about $1,000.
But still, I mean, a
Yeah.
$30,000 plus vehicle is still out of range for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'd like
yes.
to see something come down in the next 5 years down to 20.
Yes.
There was something weird about the tax credit that we had to buy it like before the end of the month.
Yes.
I
So the
didn't
tax-
quite understand it, but it was like it was for that particular make of car,
Yep.
the tax credit was disappearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the way that the federal law for this tax credit is written, you get a $7,000 tax credit until a manufacturer has sold 200,000 vehicles. So Tesla and GM have hit that 200,000 vehicle cap, and so their tax credits have decreased, and they will be gone at the end of the year.
Is that a dollar for dollar tax credit or based on your income bracket?
It's up to $7,000, assuming that you have that
But
much
it's
in tax
not, it's
liability.
not a tax deduction, it's a tax credit.
So you're getting dollar for dollar
Yeah.
back at tax
Yeah,
credit?
so it's
Yep.
not decreasing how much money you're getting taxed on, you're actually getting this
Again,
equivalent.
basically, it's a rebate.
I think
Yes.
so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you were talking
Yeah.
about the depreciation. Tesla holds their value, I believe, 2 to 3 times better than the rest of the hybrid and electric market, from what I read. Just because they're higher and fancier.
It's the
piece of
Apple
equipment.
resale
Exactly.
compared to an Android
Yeah.
phone. And Apple's going to be producing cars, so are their cars going to be electric too in the next 2
I
years?
don't know. I would
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Now the batteries in the hybrid, just the straight hybrid cars have pretty good lives, length
Yeah.
of time.
Yeah.
And, so the all-electric cars, is their lifespan expected to be about the same as a gasoline car or longer?
Longer, yeah.
Longer?
Actually,
And
I can
expect
address
the
that too.
batteries-
Sure.
With the Tesla 3, I've been told that the first set of batteries you'll get between 300,000 and 500,000 miles out of. But at
Okay.
that point, you can simply swap out the batteries for about $5,000.
300,000 miles?
300 to 500,000
So you probably won't have
miles.
the car that long.
And,
Exactly.
and the
I
price
only
for that-
intend to buy one Tesla and I'm done.
But
Well,
you're
I'll
gonna-
probably die before we drive that many miles, but, seriously,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
It's comparable to
A lot
a
of
transmission
miles.
switch out
Depends on how
also.
old you are.
It's comparable to a transmission switch out nowadays. I'll run you 3,000 to 5,000 for a regular
Well, and
gasoline.
are the like, I think the newer Priuses, they're modular, so you don't have to replace the whole battery
Correct.
necessarily?
So if
Are
something
these
goes wrong in
modular
your
too?
battery.
Are they modular batteries on
Yes,
the newer
you just
electric?
replace the one pack where something goes
Right,
wrong.
so that may not be as much money as replacing
Yes,
the whole
yep.
battery,
And
yeah.
batteries are warranted for 8 years and 100,000 miles, whichever one comes first, depending on your auto manufacturer. That's kind of the average. So you have a really solid warranty on that, so you don't need to worry about it. You asked about price parity. So there are tons of estimates on when a comparable electric car will reach the same price as a gas car. Bloomberg New Energy Finance, they're estimating 2022. So like in the next 2 years, they'll be kind of
balance out.
comparable. Yeah. If you look at what a new car in the U.S. costs, it's about $36,000, which is exactly the same as what a Chevy Bolt costs. So, if you don't buy new cars, yes, this seems so expensive. But, for people who are purchasing new cars, it's not a ton different. And as more new models come out, the used market will be built up more and more so that there will be more affordable used vehicles on the market.
But to be fair, I mean, the $36,000 Volt, I mean, not to be mean, it doesn't really look that expensive. Where a $36,000 car looks a little better.
Sure.
Like, that's why I got the Honda Insights, the electric gas, because it looks different than
Yeah.
a Prius, because
Yeah.
a Prius looks, you know what I'm talking about.
Prius?
It's
You
all
don't
personal
don't like
preference.
the way a Prius looks?
Well, they look like a
So
hybrid.
did you get a plug-in,
No, I got the
hybrid?
Insight.
which is, I don't know.
It's a gas electric. It's good 60 miles a gallon in the city. So
So
it's,
it's a hybrid.
yeah, it runs like it runs gas electric.
Right,
And it
right.
goes about a mile and a half.
Right, and you can drive to the UP then.
Yeah, like I get 640 miles out of my tank, and it's like $20.
I have
So it's
relatives
pretty
in
well.
Sault Ste. Marie, so we
Oh, yeah.
can't drive an all-electric vehicle there.
I don't want to
Not
make
right
you
now.
feel bad, Jake,
Not
but
right
with
now.
our older
Not right
model
now,
Insight,
yeah.
we did
Yeah.
get over 70 miles a gallon.
Yeah. Well, mine probably weighs more and it has more technology. And
Ours weighed a lot more when I got in it too, but,
mine has been lately too.
yeah. Jane, can you tell us a little bit more about Renew Wisconsin?
Yes, yeah. So we are a nonprofit based in Madison. We work statewide on all forms of renewable energy, so wind, solar, biogas, geothermal, and hydro, and then also electric vehicles. So we do education work, we do advocacy and policy work. We work with many of the utilities in the in the state to help them progress on their clean energy goals and help them set really good, strong clean energy goals. We do a lot of campaign work. Yeah, do you have any specific questions?
I was just curious.
Okay, yeah.
Are you the same group that had brought the electric vehicles to Evergreen Credit Union?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was so sorry I missed that. I was out of town, but.
Oh, bummer. Yes.
So if you're going to do that again, send me the email.
I will.
This is a little bit off topic, but you promote both wind and solar.
Mm-hmm.
What's the lifespan of the big wind turbines and the wind farms?
Yeah. Lifespan of wind is like 30 years.
Okay, and then are those materials recyclable or
Yes.
they are?
Yes.
Okay.
50 years? 30 seems low to me.
Somebody
sorry,
today
I'm
was
not a
telling me there
wind
was some
expert.
NPR story. Somebody was telling, and I haven't had time to go check it out and see if they got the story right, but they're saying there was some story on NPR that said all of the old wind turbines will have to be landfilled. And
I don't see why that would be the case. It's primarily metals, so it could
Right,
be
yeah.
recycled, and that's a lot of material that could be made into new wind turbines.
Right, yeah. So, but I mean, I haven't had a chance to check out their story, but you know, you're sitting there going,
Yeah.
what do
Plus-
I say? I don't know because I
Yeah,
haven't looked it up,
I
you
don't know either. New wind is a lot different than old wind too.
Uh-huh.
These new turbines are huge. They have crews that are constantly maintaining them and making sure that they're running at optimal capacity. So those will last a long time more than kind of the small wind. You have a lot of small wind up here, and the technology has just come a long way since those were installed even a decade ago. Yeah.
Can I
Any
just
other
get
questions?
one copy of everything you have?
Yes.
That'd be great, thanks.
Like, copy of each too.
Yeah. I have a few of these.
One question that I have while you're passing those out is one of the concerns that I've heard about electric vehicles is the lithium battery that's
Yeah.
used, and lithium being, dirty to dig up.
Yeah.
Is there any murmurings or anything about different kinds of batteries being developed or anything like that, or how is that typically addressed?
Yeah, so there's a ton of new battery R&D that's going on. I will say from what I can tell, most new car batteries will be lithium. And it's actually not the lithium that's problematic in the batteries. It's more like the really rare earth metals like cobalt that's oftentimes mined in inhumane ways, and it's not really recyclable, and it's in such small amounts in those batteries. And so a lot of auto manufacturers are addressing this. Tesla committed to producing cobalt-free batteries. So the amount of these rare earth metals and conflict minerals that are in batteries is going down dramatically because the industry recognizes that it's a real issue, and the people that are going to be driving their cars will really care about that. So it's getting better.
It's on the radar.
Yes, it is on the radar. There's no free lunch, but definitely people are working on it. Yeah. And the batteries are totally recyclable. The supply chain to recycle batteries is being built out really fast too, because there's a lot of valuable material in the batteries, and they can serve really great purposes after they're done in a vehicle too. So the batteries can not only be kind of broken down and recycled into new batteries, but they can serve second uses. So if you think about how much energy it takes to take your car from 0 to 60 miles an hour, that's a ton of output and wear and tear on that battery, which would do great to service a building. So you could stack a bunch of car batteries up, put them in a cabinet in the basement, and it could serve as a backup generator,
You can use the
essentially,
battery
for
as-
this building.
You could use the battery as is.
Yeah, so
without-
it's still a
without
great battery and
trying to
energy
separate out
source.
the different materials in it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But powering
the-
a vehicle takes so
Is
much
the
energy.
lithium part recyclable?
Yes.
It is, okay, because I've heard things like there's a limit to the amount of lithium in the world. But I don't know if that's
I
true or
mean,
not.
like
Again,
every
some-
other
Right, yeah.
material,
Well, and
yes.
some of this is the naysayers who don't like anything that's renewable,
Right, yeah.
But, it's still nice to have some kind of information,
Yeah.
to.
Yes, it is recyclable, and there are places all over the world that are building out the supply chain and the resources and the technology to really make the most of recycling those batteries.
If someone in Oshkosh wanted to have one of those electric car festival thingies like you
Yeah.
did, how would they go about that, and what kind of a sponsor would you need for that? I know it was at a credit union, probably because they would help finance them, but they're
Yeah.
also a very green credit union,
Yes,
so.
yeah. So putting on one of those events isn't really that expensive, and you don't really need a sponsor to do it. The city could certainly sponsor one and help do the marketing for it. But for example, we did that at Evergreen Credit Union because there was a group of us trying to do more work in the Fox Valley, and Evergreen seemed like a really great partner, so they let us use their parking lot for the day.
That was it?
Evergreen bought some cookies and lemonade, and we drove up here and spent the day here, but it's really not expensive to do.
You need a parking lot.
Yeah, you just need a parking lot that you can.
And then did you just let people with electric cars come and show them
Yeah.
off?
We can find a
what you're doing?
parking lot.
Yeah, so we called dealerships and said, hey, we're having this event. It'd be great if you brought some of the electric cars on your lot out to the event. And so Bergstrom brought 3 vehicles, and then we also emailed all the electric vehicle drivers that we knew in the community, and they came out and brought their cars too. Yeah. So it's coordination, but it's not really a dollars investment. It's a time investment to get everyone there. But spend $50 on a Facebook ad and you can reach a lot of people. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm happy to help too. I've organized a few of them now. I have a waiver you can borrow. I'm happy to help you.
We've got your
coordinate it.
email address.
Yes, let me
yeah.
know.
Okay, does anybody else have any further questions for Jane? Wow, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
Thank you
yes.
very much.
Thank you very
Now,
much.
can we all go out at one at a time and have a ride in your Tesla before?
Sure.
I'll see y'all later, you just carry on. But I guess we should go on with our plan, huh? I'm wondering, Stephen, would you be offended if we move number 5 down one and talked about Eric's vehicle
Yeah, we can,
proposal right away?
that'd be fine.
While we're still on the subject?
Consider that proposal from last time, yeah.
Yeah, he brought this up last time, so, if that's okay with everybody, we'll put all our updates together. Eric, share with us your proposal for electric vehicle project.
Initially, I talked to Steven a little bit, and apparently he said I need a full consensus here before we start with projects and stuff, so. Basically, the general idea of it was originally to do an audit of the fleet vehicles in the city of Oshkosh, see what we're using. Before I discovered that, there's like apparently 3 or 4 different total fleets of vehicles that the city uses. And from that point, it seemed a little bit too big of a project to go forward with. But then I thought about it a little bit, and I thought about putting together a proposal for what I believe would be the city council would have to vote on it, to have fleet managers buy electric when the end of the life comes of the regular gasoline-powered vehicles were applicable. Like I said, obviously our snowplows and such aren't quite there yet, but
Like some
we-
kind of ordinance to enforce them to have to buy electric, you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Just depends on the costs too, because I mean, every year they have a budget that they gotta meet.
right. Both the price dropping and such, and we're almost there now. We'd be saving money in the long run, anyways, with it.
Obviously, bringing awareness to it and giving a presentation or having a workshop on it for cost analysis. you
Right.
know.
Well,
Be
I was
beneficial.
planning on that. I just Steven said we had to take a vote on before we do like
And usually,
action on before we start.
yeah, usually, because
Put words together on
the
paper.
city manager had actually contacted me about it, and usually administrative requests like this would have to go through his office. So we'd have to get support from the board, and then you all would be making a request of me essentially to take it to my superiors. And then from there, if they're okay with it, it would go to the city manager. Because if it's administrative, as Jake had alluded to, there's costs involved. Each department head only has his or her own fleet that they're responsible for. So, if you talk to Jim Collins, well, he's only got his vehicles. And then there's everybody
what I
in
spoke
Public
to,
Works.
yeah.
And, yeah, so there'd be some things that we would have, like there's a channel or a process we have to go through first. So tonight, you could pitch the idea. Or you all as a board could kind of decide whether or not you think it's worth putting some research and time into, and then we would be just making a formal request of the city administration and of staff to take a look at it if they're able, or if they have the time and if they're willing to do so.
Right, and the core of what I was looking at was mostly the smaller coupes and such. That, we have a ton of four-door vehicles that are just like Toyota Camrys and such that are coming to the end of their life eventually. And once that comes,
Be
I'd like to
perfect
see-
timing.
Yeah, that'd be the time to do it. I mean, I wouldn't be expecting the city to pitch out for 40 new electric vehicles when these ones are still running perfectly
Yeah.
fine. And that was the
You'd
hope.
focus on a certain class of vehicle, or you'd require for.
Where available,
Where it would make
yes.
sense
Yeah,
cost-wise to.
I mean, they have, like, I saw there are some very lovely SUVs that are electric, but they would probably price themselves right out of the city budget with where they're at right now. They'd be great.
In maybe 4 years, not though.
Right,
So
and-
once they need to purchase one.
Oh, that's okay. It takes us 4 years to get anything through, so.
Oh, so
Then
we're
you
right in the
could-
ballpark.
We're right
then,
on
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Would the proposal be something that if the cost was equivalent or within a certain dollar amount, that the electric vehicle would be given preference or something?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think it should, it would
Okay.
make sense. I mean, if
Yeah.
they can,
Yeah.
the cost that quick.
Well, if the
I mean,
purchase
I'd like to
process
see
is-
full EV, but if they're willing to go hybrid, I mean, small steps better than no step.
Our city manager has a car credit with his contract, and he has a Chevy Suburban XL. So if we could get him into one of these smart EQs,
That'd be pretty cute.
Does he
That would-
need?
And he'd be
something that-
setting a
You
good
could pick
example
the
for the
tiniest one.
entire
Is he
city.
given a certain dollar amount he could
he gets a
spend on?
dollar,
Yeah.
dollar amount per month. But I mean, we could get him into one of these little ones, and
I think another thing I have to look at, obviously, I don't know if I'd be involved in this or if it'd be like a city worker sort of thing, would be what the infrastructure is for the city, but where these cars are kept at night. That would matter also.
Sure.
If they're all lined up at the city garage, obviously we could just line up level
Pump
two
up a
chargers
station,
and
yeah.
be done with it. That'd be the end of it. And throw a few solar panels on it in 5 years and let it snowball from there.
And if they're inside chargers, they'll be cheaper to install if it's in a garage.
Right, yeah.
there's a lot of room in that
There's
building
if
for.
there's a lot of there's like
Oh,
there's a lot of take home vehicles.
Fairly
though.
new?
Yes.
There's a lot of take-home vehicles.
I don't know. I guess I don't know.
So an audit would need to be done first, and then I guess what is your end goal? Like
I guess it's-
an
I guess-
ordinance or just like
I guess
a
an audit
recommendation?
wouldn't necessarily. I guess an audit wouldn't necessarily.
That'd be an ordinance
It'd be
or
more of
Audit
an
needs to be
policy?
done. Yeah.
You'd have to make a policy isn't going to have to be agreed upon, but an ordinance would be, this is what you have to do.
Right.
Okay.
Or just
but
like
Steven,
a-
could you get like an audit or inventory list of all our vehicles? That shouldn't be that hard, right?
As long as staff has the time
I
and
mean, we're in
availability to
budget
put it
season
together.
right now, so it's
Yep.
kind of hard.
Yep.
Right.
But,
I mean,
I think in theory it
If
could
we looked on a
happen.
list and see Toyota Camrys, we can say, okay, those are 6 years old or 5 years old. When those need to be replaced, let's look into that
Yeah.
electric
Yeah.
option.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm sure I could get the data. It's just a matter of getting the approval and, going through the proper process and making sure that staff is available and able to work on it.
If
Yeah.
you need somebody to run paperwork, I'm free during the day. I can run papers wherever you need to, so. Or pick up stuff.
Well, I think maybe it might be smart to have Stephen get us some information to work with and then have either a workshop on it or have a subcommittee meet outside of a meeting, if, depending on how many of us are interested in this, to kind of put together a proposed policy that we could then start passing up the chain. But we need some kind of information to start with, don't you think?
Yeah, you
So-
need to know
Yeah.
how many vehicles you're talking about.
Yeah,
what
so I
the
think you were
approximate
right
cost
on
is.
with getting an audit of the fleets first.
Yeah.
And, type, age, and maybe even operating expense, they may have that. I know like Transit has that on the buses.
Yeah.
So I would hope everybody has a general idea of what they're paying for those vehicles, so
Especially in budget season, you think it'd be readily available.
you would
Yeah.
think.
They would have all the data already calculated. Yeah.
Right,
Right.
because, so the
Yeah.
timing actually works out pretty good.
And I guess if you can show it's either the same cost or maybe a savings if you take into account operating costs, because operating costs on these will be less.
Right.
In the long term, it would be cheaper.
Right, which
Yeah.
we've,
We need the
There's been-
information
We need
so
the
that
actual
we can
physical
put it into
numbers
a
and-
chart
Right,
to
yeah,
show
yeah.
people.
Right, right, you need to
Yeah.
actually figure it out. You can't
It's
just
too
say-
esoteric without some numbers
all too familiar
attached.
with ROIs and businesses. That's all they want to know.
Yeah.
How much is it going to cost now? When is that money going to get coming back to me?
Right.
Well, then would we want to suggest then that the first step we'd like is to have Stephen, in his spare time, which he has so much of these days, just request from the fleet managers, whoever they are, so that we could get some information? We did talk with Jim Collins 2 years ago, though. It's been now since we talked with him about the electric buses. Remember, you and I and somebody else? No, it wasn't you, Adam.
he's sure.
Yeah, he's sure it wasn't. Somebody who's
The
no longer
Robert?
on the board that had participated in that. And that was very eye-opening. I mean, you get a lot of they have the information, they just don't think to share it with us unless we ask. So let's ask and see what we can get, but I don't expect that we'll be able to bring this back probably until December at the earliest, maybe January.
And do you want to, I guess you could formally take a vote and take action to have me, to ask that I try to pursue this, to proceed with it? Just so that we can say that to the city manager and to some, my higher ups, my department head, my division manager, that we,
Dick, make a motion like that.
Sure. I make a motion to have Steven do what he just said.
Any second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can you just also make sure that they list the replacement cycle time on those vehicles too? Because we can see something that's 10 years old that might not be replaced for another 5 years,
Right.
or something
Yeah,
to
we
replace
won't
after
know
5 years.
just from
Yeah.
looking
Yeah,
at it. Depends,
exactly.
I suppose, how much it's driven and.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the usage and. Good call.
If you only get,
Addendum
if you only
to
put on
And how much
miles
it's
of-
polluting.
right, 20-year-old car, they're not going to replace it.
Which is kind of a factor.
What's that?
The rate of pollution or just the level of emissions per year.
No,
would
they
be
don't have any
received
idea
through.
probably, but there's that
There's-
whole social justice issue,
Yes.
Well,
There's a
also-
great resource through the Department of Energy. You can go online and you can compare one four-door vehicle to another electric four-door vehicle, and it'll tell you cost to operate and emissions from those vehicles.
So it's the DOE website?
Yeah, it's a DOE website.
Does it
I
have
can
a certain
send that
name?
to
Send it.
Stephen, and you can
Yeah.
circulate it. Yeah.
yep, thanks.
Yeah.
I know the fire department, they have a whole fleet of those little red cars they have. There's about 30 or 40 of them throughout the city.
Sure.
They're
There's
all subcompacts. So it's like that could be a whole fleet of replacements.
Sure, and those would be,
And
you might want to start with a certain area first to see how it goes and show
Yeah.
that, yeah, it does work and save money.
Yep.
And
Baby
the
steps.
The
Yep.
smaller cars would be less expensive, so the money up front wouldn't be as big.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and if
Very
we
good
can
point.
identify a fleet to use for a pilot project,
Like a
Right.
fire department.
but we kind of need to see them all to know what we
Right,
want to
right,
identify.
what works, yeah, what would work or,
Imagine the smaller fleet might be the
Okay.
SPSO
Yeah.
We'll find out.
but they're
But
We'll
they gotta
find
have
out.
the storage capacity
they're
too.
into my
All right, shall we move on?
Yes,
even that work.
Okay. Going back to number 5, the Oshkosh Sustainability Plan update. It's awesome, it's awesome. No,
It's
that's not the
close.
update, is it?
Yeah, so I got it, or I tried to make the revisions based on our last conversations that we had, and then pending my supervisor's approval, essentially, before it goes to council. So,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, this will be my last interjection. I brought this policy toolkit. Some of it's for more statewide government agencies, but there's some really good info in here for local governments. So I'll leave this, and it's available online.
Oh, great,
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane. We really appreciate all your knowledge and you sharing it.
I appreciate being invited. Reach out if you have questions. Thanks again.
Will do.
Thank you.
So that's kind of in limbo at this point yet.
yep, so it's just, because the next step is, yes, it would go through my boss and possibly his boss, so my department head, and then it would go to the common council for approval.
Be watching for that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them, yes. it
Whatever
should
we
be
wanna do
approved.
here, we can get to vote on it, okay? So it's whatever we wanna do.
Okay, Lakeshore master planning process.
For this one, Stacy James of Parks actually sent out an update today. And I don't know if everybody here got it. I think Margie and I got it.
I don't remember seeing it, but I haven't.
Yeah, so you might not be on her list, but the Advisory Parks Board meeting that was scheduled for Monday, October 14th, and they were going to be sharing the preferred concept plan for Lakeshore Park. That has been rescheduled to Monday, October 21st at 6 p.m. So, yep, that would be here, I believe.
October 21st, 6 PM
Yes.
in City Hall someplace.
Yep, I believe up here. I can confirm that, but yes.
Can you send a notice of observation for that in
Yes.
case we all want to come?
We'll be televising it.
Excellent.
It will be online.
It will also be available online.
All the
Okay.
info.
Streamed on TV, on the radio.
And she also said that it is anticipated that the master plan will be scheduled for Plan Commission and Common Council approval in November or December, kind of in that time range. So just something else that was in her update.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Environmental Leadership Award. I can take that one if you
Sure.
want. We did have a meeting on that just prior to this meeting. We have identified a potential awardee, award winner, or person, for the Environmental Leadership Award, which will be awarded at State of the City in March of 2020. But that's still pending because not everybody was available tonight. But it's moving away ahead well. However, if anybody has any further ideas for people that, or people, businesses, organizations that you think deserve an Environmental Leadership Award, by all means get in touch with Stephen and let him know. Okay, next, Menominee Shoreland Restoration. Michelle.
I've been gone from these meetings just about all season, so there are a lot of updates, but I'll try to keep it short here. We've had a lot of volunteer events. We had the Pathfinders come, so we had two groups of them coming when they showed up in I don't even remember if that was August or September now. How the months fly. But it was amazing. They did a lot of good work. We trimmed back a lot of tall coreopsis because it kind of invaded some spots where it was just all that was there. So we had less diversity. So we're trying to encourage other plants and more growth there. We also got rid of a lot of invasive species, and we're doing a lot of pulling and things like that. We also were working with the city on the potential to leave the plants over the winter because there are many benefits to doing so rather than usually in the fall. The city would mow the site down to the ground and then the plants would just grow back in spring. There are some benefits to mowing, but typically it's better to do that in the spring because then all the bugs and birds and all that love the plants over winter. It does so much for biodiversity that it makes so much sense just to leave them up until spring. And then in spring, cut back to, 12 to 18 inches of the old growth and then let the new plants come up. It just really helps all of the insects and critters and things that we need. So we talked to Bill Sturm in the Parks Department, and they said that that should be fine. And so we're excited to trial that out this year. So we've been really working hard to make sure that the shore trail has stayed open and is nice for people to be able to walk through and see that into this season. So I'm kind of excited to see what that looks like further. Got to see a lot of asters and things when I was walking through. Was that just, this last Wednesday actually was our most recent volunteer day. So yeah, we're wrapping up the season and really excited for new changes to come. So that's all for now, but we are likely going to have a meeting later this fall, TBD, just to discuss next season and to enjoy what this season has brought. So
That's really awesome news. I'm really glad we get to leave it up.
yes, me too. That's big
It'll
progress.
It's a pilot spot that's doing very, very well, but this needs to see what happens over winter, so awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, we did the pump house site last year that was left up, and so we just cleaned it up in the spring, like I was describing how we could do at the Miller Space Site, and it worked out great.
Super. What's happening with the Nicolay side? Anything at all?
Yeah, so I have to connect back with the Oshkosh Housing Authority, but they're able to, we worked with the Housing Authority to combine some fundraise monies to donate for new plants to go in. So there's a whole new section that was planted just this fall. So really excited about that. Earlier in the season, we did get out there and took care of some weeding that needed to be done, and really cut down an area that was all weeds. It was a section that never got planted really, and nothing good came in it. So we took that out, and that got covered up so that we could snuff out all of that weedy section and really make it better. So a lot of nice new plants were planted, and
More progress there too.
Yes, more progress there. It's exciting. And the pump house site, I'd like to say this is the first year we've had a really big problem with Queen Anne's Lace after the site was accidentally mowed. I think that was a couple years back now. And so we've been really working hard last year and this year to get some of those weeds out, because they're really hard to get out of disturbed areas like that. And last year was just a nightmare. But this year we actually were able to get a majority of them out. So I'm really excited for what next year will bring. And we did plant some stuff this spring as well to try to help combat that. So
At the pump house.
at the pump house site, yep.
Cool.
Yep. Lots of good things.
Have you all gone out and seen all these awesome sites?
Not the Nicolay.
Not Nicolay?
Where is the Nicolay?
It's behind.
It's on Nicolay.
I don't know what Nicolay is.
Not Nicolay.
It's behind the 700 block
Yes.
of Nicolay. It's only one block long. It's the one that runs from Murdoch to Harrison Street.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
behind those apartments that are Oshkosh Housing Authority
Oh, the
apartments
new,
on
the refurbished ones, or
No, the older ones that are across from the laundromat.
Oh, okay.
So they're behind, it's behind that. There's really not a lot of accessibility unless you drive into their.
Is it
or-
on water, or is it on a, or no?
No, just a kind of a lowland.
Okay,
It was more of
It's a little
the-
downhill there.
okay.
Even though it's not on a shoreland, the Friends of Menominee Park Shoreland really thought it was a good idea just for this restoration aspect. That's really the focus of the group, is really more restoring
Sure, sure.
native plants.
And it was a really
ecosystems.
good place to replant a lot of the plants that had to come out of the Menominee area.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's how it got started, I think.
Right, making room for our viewing area, and since we were taking plants out of our viewing area to save them, we moved them to the Nicolay site,
okay.
so that we didn't have to just kill them, to make room for that. So
Because they scream.
we just can't hear.
Okay, thank you. Farmers market update. Pat, were you there at the last one?
No, Robert
Robert
I
was.
think. Yeah, I talked to him a little bit, but.
Hey, did you work with him at all, Lurton, or?
Yes.
That one?
You did help him on that one? At least if I think I know which was the last one. The last one was in
September 14th,
Yeah,
wasn't
that
it?
one.
Okay.
yeah, I was at a different one. I was at a different table.
Yeah, that was the day there
Across
were
from-
like a lot of groups that were all involved in,
Yeah,
so.
so I did walk over and talk to him.
Well, I know we had it and you got everything back. I don't know what kind of contact we had or anything, so. Or if it rained. Did it rain? I was out of town. Of course it rained. It always rains when there's a farmer's market. It's like going
I don't
camping.
remember it being, if it rained, it didn't rain a lot.
Oh, good, okay. Well, we are done with them now for this season, and I assume we'll probably want to sign up for them again next season. We will have a pop-up for our use all through next season, which will be amazing. And it's not yours, Pat, we bought one. We being the city,
Oh, when did you buy one? I thought you already had
about
one.
a month ago.
No,
Oh,
we're just
okay, I was gonna say,
borrowing.
I thought you had already had one. Oh, you
Oh.
were borrowing somebody's.
We borrowed it until,
Oh,
and then you came along and we borrowed yours. You know, we're good.
just one time, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just have to coordinate with other staff because I know Rental Housing Advisory Board also uses that
Yeah,
pop-up.
it's gonna
for
be a
both
shared
boards.
pop-up, so we just have to make sure that when we,
have to
when we
coordinate
file
your
for the
dates.
farmer's market, that it's on different dates.
Right.
Or it could be on the same date and have them both right next to one another. So like if you're there for both, Margie, then
Oh,
that was suggested to me. So
really?
yeah,
We'll talk later.
It's the rain and the sun.
Yeah, yeah, if you step here or step here. Okay, social media discussion.
Yeah, posts have been obviously like very time consuming because I make them in like a batch and then just send them out to Steven. He posts them. So I'd still love to see obviously the option for me to just post on my own, to go back to being a manager of the page. Would make things a lot easier and smoother. There'd be a lot more sharing and communication with other pages as well.
More efficient and sustainable.
Correct, ironically. So like I'm still really advocating for that and hoping that can hopefully be some discussion on how we can move forward in that direction again. Just because obviously like using all of Steven's time for this specifically maybe isn't the most efficient for all the other things the board is trying to do. So I'm still going to continue to advocate for that. Until then, October will be all about energy. I actually don't have them done, unfortunately, but they'll be to Steven as soon as possible. So that was the chapter that was agreed upon months ago. So October will focus on energy efficiency, stuff like that. So.
For November and December, could I make a suggestion?
By all means, love suggestions, love input.
How about things like electric vehicles?
Yeah.
We've got a lot of info now.
Yeah, December would be great for that. November is already no waste November, so working on a zero-free lifestyle.
Okay, that one was taken.
But December, we can do electric vehicles.
So if you have a turkey for Thanksgiving, be sure and save the bones for soup.
Yes. Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
That's like the theme, yeah, for November. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So November is no waste and December is
electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles. Okay. That takes us to our agenda items for future meetings. Any suggestions, anyone?
Are the solar panels still underway? I know the contact was on a leave or something.
yeah, she's out, and I had not had enough time to really get buy-in here. But I know one of the student groups, and I'll put the student projects on for the next meeting. One of the groups is actually looking
is interested in that? Oh, okay. Okay, that's good.
So that's something that we can discuss too. But yeah, it's been on my list. I just haven't been able to.
Is it worth bringing up at the next meeting or just wait? Or-
I think we can bring it up. I mean, the students are looking at it, and they could lay the groundwork so that maybe even next year we could potentially do something. Usually that's how those projects work, is that they do a lot of research and they kind of dig into it. And then we can make some recommendations for moving forward.
So we'll have their information in December, so we should maybe wait until January to start looking at it again, do you think?
We could. I could just make a quick staff update at the next meeting. Yeah, on it.
Is electric vehicles or charging stations, is that on the students' framework at all this semester or not? I don't
I don't
see the
think
end
so.
list. Okay.
It's more like solar technology, I believe. Yeah, I think that's kind of how it looked like it was gonna be, was solar technology, solar panels and such.
Okay.
Oh,
I can
that's a big
remember.
part of what they're gonna do then?
I think so, yeah,
Okay.
Clean energy as a whole, I think that was what they were looking at.
yeah.
Well, if you get solar panels, then you have more reason to get an electric car.
And if you
Say
get an electric
snow-
car, it's more
snowball
reason to
just
get
keeps on
solar
rolling.
panels.
Yeah, it all
I love it.
flows
I love it.
together.
Okay, around the table, anybody else have anything for coming up?
I don't know if anyone else has checked their email, but I received an email
Yes,
today.
yes, we did too.
Oh, Roundup, okay.
Yep.
Person was just curious. I didn't personally
So we'll
respond
talk,
to it, but
yeah, no, I wouldn't. I'd hold on that. There's apparently something new with the website where people can interact with us a little bit
Now,
more,
does
so that's cool.
somebody respond to the person then?
They,
or-
it will be responded to,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah, and I was telling Eric over email that if you do respond, you could put him in touch with me. You could also just kind of keep it generic and just state that, the board has discussed this, thank him for sharing his input and concerns, and that he can come and speak on it at a meeting during the public comment period. We as staff can then follow up on it. So you don't have to go too far into depth into it, when you do respond.
Are we gonna go into any further follow-up on that discussion that we had with Bill about Roundup and?
Well, yes, if any of us have anything that we can add to that conversation, we certainly want to, but, like I said, I was gone in September, I haven't had a chance to find anything else, have you?
No, I mean, I was
Because
just,
we can put it on for next month.
I feel like there were some unanswered questions, especially about the contractors and what they're playing, not knowing what they're playing, and
Yes, and what's the word I want? Who's responsible for what the private contractors are doing? There's a word for that, but I can't remember it.
Liability?
Say it.
Liability?
No, accountability.
Close.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
and, the person we had speaking, he was only in charge of
He's the city forester.
yeah, like the bedding around the trees and everything, but he wasn't necessarily in charge of like the actual parks area also.
No, I believe
There was like another group that was also in charge of.
Well, the Parks Department takes
garden
care of
type stuff.
lawns and stuff, but he takes care of all the flower beds and shrubs
Trees
and
and-
everything, so. He's kind of their main guy, but there's a staff, and they're all accredited from what he said. Did you all read through that in the minutes? The review of, did you notice a strong similarity between our minutes and anything else that we've received? So it was clearly generated by our meeting, so hopefully we'll be able to respond to that as soon as we have more information too. We can say, yes, we've received this and it's on our radar, but we don't have more information yet.
So is somebody taking on the responsibility of responding to that then? Okay, is that a staff member who does, or?
I can, and that's what, I don't know that I got the emails, I think I was copied on them, but I know he addressed all of you, so I can follow up with him. I don't think he directly contacted me, but, I can let him know that everybody's gotten
We can
his
talk
email.
about that later
Yeah.
too, but,
Yes.
and there's a very good chance he's watching too, so, or will watch. Well, this is true, this is why we're on the air. So everybody knows what we're doing. Okay, so agenda items for future meetings, we're going to work on that this month. Maybe we'll come up with a really great presentation for next month too. Did you like hearing Jane today?
Yeah.
Wasn't that enlightening?
Amazing, yeah.
Yes.
That was great.
Very nice. Okay, with that, our next meeting will be on Monday, November 4th, right here at City Hall, room 404. And I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you all for coming.